Well, hello everyone. This is Cindy Luby, and it's Friday. Oh, am I on the wrong day? No, I'm out here to help Elaine because we're on our mini vacation doing some planning for our new year, and I decided that I was going to do tips and techniques today for Friday. Wow, boy. So I kind of feel a little awkward, but hey, I had a great idea. Elaine's doing her cookbook. So we're doing that at the end of this month. And I thought, what a great way to do something with her cookbook. But showing you if you buy some of these items, like the stamp set, this What Cooking, you can make a really, really fun card because we have this great die that I'm not sure a lot of people see in our main catalog. And it's called Give It a Whirl. Now look at this die. It is a lot, so it's called Give It a Whirl Dies, and it has got tons and tons of things in it. But let me show you so I don't confuse you about what kind of card this makes, and then I'll go into this. This is the card we're going to make today. Isn't this a fun card? And it goes great with that stamp set that we're going to be using for our recipe book. And look at what it does. Happiness is homemade. Oh my God, look at that. It does this great, give it a whirl. I love it. So this is what I came up with to do this card. And you know what? This card is really not hard to make because the dies do all the work for you. So you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. Just doing a lot of little die cutting. I'll give you dimensions on how to add a little of your DSP to this. And you're good to go. So, let's kind of do that and look at the inside. What's cooking? Look at those cute little pots. I love it. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about this dies. This is how it cuts out this card front. Look at that. Isn't that easy? You don't have to worry about that part. Now, it's got a little hole here, and that's where everything's going to be your mechanism. This is your Give It a Whirl. This is what you're going to cut out on whatever color cardstock you want. And the way this works is once you put this inside, this is how this is going to work. And you put a brad in here. So then that way, as you can see, you can kind of twirl it as you go. Then you're wondering, well, how do I get that window? Well, there's different windows you can use too. And this is the window I was going to use. So when I did this, I actually kind of set these two on top of each other, put a little bit of Post-it note tape on there, and I cut it all out at the same time. So then that way you don't have to worry about trying to even it up. But even if you don't do that, it's really easy. All you have to do is line this up with your hole, kind of make sure that that's even. Put a little of that Post-it note tape down and run it through your machine. And that's all it is. Now, that's not the only thing that you get with this. Look at all these little things you get. You get these little arrows that you can put on there so people know that they can twirl it. So look at that. Look at those little arrows. So you get some, just one set. You get several of those. Let me pull out a couple of other things because I think this is a great stamp, a great tool to use to go with your stamps. You could use this with any stamp. You've got a square, so you could do a square on your card instead of the little, I don't know what you would call that, but you got that. You've got a circle that you can use. You have a heart. So at Valentine's, you could make a fun Valentine's card. Wouldn't that be cute? You've got little hearts that you can cut out. Look at that to go with that. You've got more arrows. You've got a little banner to use to do for your sentiment. Oh, we're not done yet. Let's keep going. Let me put these back before I lose them. Look at this. To go with your circle, look at this. If you did your circle, then you could put this around this. So it would be a decoration. Whoops, so you can see that. So there you would do your circle and then put that around and cut it, and that would be your decoration for that too. I tell you, there's no end to this dies. They are great. Look, you've got arrows that you actually can cut out. You've got clouds and you've got stars. I mean, there is no end to this dies. You get so many pieces with this. So definitely look, it's in the main catalog and it's kind of hidden. So you have to look for Give It a Whirl. And we'll be putting that information down so you know what page to look for in the comments down below when we post this. But I think this is a great stamp dies that you could use for lots and lots of things. You can make all sorts of different cards with this. So let's put this aside. And let me go ahead and this, so I've got my pieces. I already got some of my pieces done because, you know, it's a little bit of die cutting and this and that. So but I really wanted to show you how it all worked. So let me get my arm out of the way there. I've already got my little brad and I've already got some of my pieces actually cut, but I'm going to show you how I put that together. I've got my piece cut for this, and I did that in real red. And I'm using my base as basic black, and then I've got my basic white cardstock in there. I've already got my Give It a Whirl cut, my little piece. And it actually gives you an impression. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if I can get it to focus. But it actually, not really, yeah, well, you can see where that is. But it'll actually give you a little impression on each one of these so you can kind of see where you're going to stamp. The other thing is you might be able to do is actually put this inside of this, figure out where you're at, and then you could stamp on each one of them too, as long as it doesn't go outside of this area. That would be another way you could do it. But I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and the way I designed this is I wanted my sentiment to be first, so that's why I put my little arrow impressions here. And all it does is emboss it in to your whirl. So I'm going to go and I'm going to pick out Happiness is Homemade. So I'm going to pick that one out, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on my block. And I did that in real red. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a test on my paper. There we go. And all you want to do is just kind of center it in the middle. Kind of see where you're at with those impressions and center it in the middle. There we go. That's perfect. Because you got to see where it's going to kind of show up, okay? And so then I want to turn this because I know this is the way it's going to go. And then the next piece that I wanted to do is I wanted to stamp my vegetables. So I'm going to go ahead and get that stamp out. And here's my little vegetable one. And I'll go ahead and stamp that. And I'm stamping that in Early Espresso, because I'm going to use some of my blends to color in some of the vegetables. Oh, and look at that. See? This is what I do. It's open, so what do? I stamp it. I didn't want to stamp it in real red. I want to do it in Early Espresso. Ah, caught myself just in time. But you know, the other way I would have caught that is if I did my test stamp, I would have noticed that it's in the wrong color. All right, so there's my Early Espresso, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the middle and stamp it. Ah, look at that. How cute. And again, I'm going to color that. And now I'm going to turn it one more time, and then this is where I'm actually going to do my little chef's hat. Aren't those cute? So I'm going to go ahead and take that, and I'm going to go ahead and get my little chef's hats out now. Isn't this a fun? This is, you wait till you see how it turns out. It's going to be so cute. My chef hats are a little crooked. All right, so I'm going to do those. There we go. All right, now we can go ahead, close my inks up for now. Go ahead and clean off my little stamps. And you know what I always do? I always use this as my staging area, so I know all the pieces that I need and where they're going to be so they don't stick to something else. So I'm going to go ahead and get out my, I'm going to do crumb cake, the light crumb cake, and I'm going to go ahead and just lightly color this in. Kind of fun just to color a little bit, do that. And then on the bottom, I'm going to do the dark of where the brim is. And you don't have to always use the brush. You can use more of the writing mechanism of this. You can also do a little bit of shading here if you wanted, just to kind of add a little bit of dimension to that. And a lot of times the stamps will tell you on where you could do some of your shading because of the dark marks that it puts on there. And that's sometimes what I just go over and I color it a little bit and I blend it all together, and then that part's done. Now, on my vegetables, we know this, we're going to do my light real red first. Oh, there's my dark. I'm going to do my light one. And I'm going to do a little bit of dark on the inside of this. And I noticed that I didn't grab a couple of my blends. I thought I grabbed them all, but apparently I didn't. And I'm going to need a little bit of green. So I'm going to need a little bit of some kind of green. Let's see, I think I'll do Old Olive. And then I need my Daffodil Delight light, and I'm going to use that. I think this is supposed to be a little bit of an onion here. So that's why I decided I would do Daffodil Delight with that. It was a little curly-Q, so I couldn't quite figure out what that was, but and now this is a mushroom, so we're going to do the light crumb cake on that, because we know hopefully our mushrooms aren't too dark on that one. And then because we have the little bit of greenery here, that's why I wanted to do the Old Olive, just to give that a little bit of dimension there. All right, that was easy. Very easy coloring. Now, the way you put this together is that you just put this down and you take your little brad. Any little brad will work. Just make sure you've got a little one there. And get your eyes working. And you're just going to fold that down. Don't do it too tight because you want to make sure that it rotates. There you go. That's what you're going to do there. Now, what I decided when I was putting this together is that I wanted this to have, I didn't want this to be too tight. So I wanted to give it, so I decided I would put some dimensionals down because I felt that they kind of worked by keeping this up a little bit. So I just put one on each corner. And that's the way I held this down, but I think it gives it a little bit of a free. And like I said, you want to make sure that that bread isn't too tight so that you can make sure that that moves. And so then you can just go ahead and put that down on the front. All right, get all four of those pieces done. Go ahead and put that on my black. All right, happiness is homemade. Isn't that cute? Now, I decided that I wanted a little bit of a gingham, and I found this in some of my paper stash that I had. And this is that pack that you can get in the main catalog if you're a hostess. This is a great value that you can get because it's all the one side is black and white and the other side has all different colors. And I'll be sure and put that in the notes also of where you can get this. But this dimension, because I wanted this to fit down here, but I didn't want it to interfere with the mechanism, is 3 5/8 by 2 9/16. So I'm just going to go ahead and get some tape runner and make sure I'm just staying in those stitch lines because I don't want to hide those because I think that's really cute, and I'm putting that down. And then this is where I'm going to build my little scene. So I did a little bit of blending on this with crumb cake, and this is one of the dies that you get in the bundle, which is cute. Look at all these cute items that you get. Oh, just too cute. I love this cooking. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and I'm going to build some of my other ones on top of that because you get the knife, you get a spatula, you get a whisk. And I decided I didn't want my knife to be one. I wanted it to get a little bit of dimension. So I actually cut these out together. This is the black, and then this is that brushed metallic paper that we have. And I took out my silver, and what I've done is I cut them out all at the same time, but I wanted my handle to be black, but I wanted my blade to be silver because I wanted it to look a little bit more realistic. So all you have to do is take your snips and then cut along where your handle would be, and just kind of eyeball what do you think that your knife would look like. So I kind of wanted it to be a little diagonal. So on here I'm just going to put a little tape runner down. You could do your Tombow glue also, and put this down and cover up that blade. There you go. And there you go. You've got a knife, and I think it really looks more like a knife than just being one color. So you can use dimensions and all this too, but I decided I wanted to kind of keep some of this flat. So I kind of put my knife down as my centerpiece, and then I've got my little spatula here, and I'm going to put just a little tape runner down there, and I'm kind of tuck that underneath. Oh, there we go. See me and my fat fingers. I know I didn't tape that all the way down, but I want to kind of tuck that underneath there and have that show up a little bit. And then I'm going to take my whisk and I'm going to stick that under there a little bit, because you know I like to do things in threes. Now I cut these out. There's a stamp for it, and then there's a die to cut these out. But I didn't want this to be all one color, and you can see how it's a little bit shaded too, so you can actually do some coloring. So I decided I would take my dark real red blend, and I would color this just to give it a little bit more color to it, so it would go with my card. And not much to do it, just a little bit of color. If you don't have your blends, you can go use your Stampin' Write markers. Those work out really well too. But I also wanted to give this a little bit of shading, so I'm going to take my light crumb cake, excuse me, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bit of coloring on this, not much, just to kind of add a little something. But I did this I stamped it on crumb cake itself, because I didn't want white to show up on my edges. I wanted it to kind of look a little bit more realistic. Now you can kind of go back with your dark and shade in some of these areas too if you wanted, just to kind of give it a little bit more dimension. You know, coloring is all about what you like to see. You know, everybody's different. Everybody's different in their coloring, but you know, it really doesn't matter. As long as you're happy with what you're doing, that's really what counts. So on this, I'm going to just do a little bit of tape runner here. I'm going to make these so they're a set, you know, salt and pepper. They don't go one without the other. And I'm just going to kind of overlap them a little bit. Isn't that cute for a scene? And look, it really didn't hardly take me any time at all to do this. You think by doing something like this would be very complicated, but it really isn't. And with these little arrows, and when somebody looks at that, they'll know that they need to move that. So let's go ahead and do the inside of our card. I got my piece of basic white already cut. Your standard at 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to go ahead and do the what's cooking on the inside, and I'm going to do that in real red. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down, get my real red open. I'm so glad I'm doing this video in advance, because you know, just because that we're out and we're doing going on a trip and stuff doesn't mean that we want to miss doing our tips and techniques or any of our videos that we do for you. So nothing wrong in recording and then going ahead and letting you guys see it on the day you're looking for it. So there's my what's cooking, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my pots and pans and put that down, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. I think I don't have my crumb cake out, and that's really what I wanted to do, but let me show you how you can do a lighter color even if you don't have your right color out. So I have that, and it's kind of dark, and I didn't want it to be that dark. So what I'm going to do is stamp it and then stamp off, and then it almost looks like crumb cake, and that's kind of what I wanted. So I'm going to stamp and then stamp off. There we go. And look, I got the color I wanted anyway. There's all different ways to do things, right? Now, we can go ahead, and I think on this one, I'll just take my Tombow glue, because it's really easy to do my squiggle marks on my back here. You know how I like to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in my card. And I think this is a great compliment that is for what Elaine is doing with her cookbook. I wanted to show you that it's not all about just doing your stamp for that. You can make a fun card that you can send out with all of the different things that you get with your bundle. Not only do you get these great stamps, but you get all of these wonderful dies that you can use. And what a great way to embellish either a card or your cookbook that you'll be doing at the end of October. You know, our first class is already sold out, and we've got a second one in November that we're going to do. And we're going to do that one in the evening on, I believe, a Tuesday. And I'm not mistaken, it's the 9th, but I'll have that posted too. So I don't think you want to miss out on this cookbook. It is so much fun. And again, once you do that, you can start making some fun cards. So give it a whirl. See what you think. There was a little play on words. I love it. Well, guys, I know Elaine and I are having fun at the beach, and I hope you guys are having a great day too. So I can't wait to see what you'll do with this stamp set. And be sure and get those dies. I wouldn't want to miss out on it. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you when we get back. Bye now.